Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. Coming to you fresh off of CeeLo's stream. If you were with him, we appreciate you staying with us and tuning in. Of course, not the best night to be live here on YouTube as the Braves do fall to the Mets, but not before putting up a fight there in the late innings, falling 7-3. Here's what I'll say. Obviously, you knew coming in with Didier Fuentes on the mound that the Mets were probably going to take advantage of a young, pitcher on the mound. Nothing wrong with that. I can't even really be mad at it. It's kind of where things are with Chris Sale being out. Not ideal to say the least, but I can't say I'm overly surprised. Didier Fuentes threw 3 1/3. He had 6 earned runs off 8 hits with 1 strikeout. Not his best work, obviously, but remember, this is a guy who had 1 game in Gwinnett. There's going to be some growing pains. There always is. Can't, really be too mad about it. I thought the bullpen overall did pretty well. Aaron Bummer came in and threw 2 2/3, almost 3 innings, but covered a lot of ground there for the Pens, saving the pen for tomorrow and, of course, for the over-the-weekend series against Philadelphia. Austin Cox, a name that we're not all too familiar with, threw 2 innings, only gave up 1, did his best to, limit the damage. All in all, the Braves there at the end did force the Mets to use Edwin Diaz, so that was nice, even though he only threw to one batter. It was nice that you put the Mets on their heels a little bit and said, we're not even going to mess around. We're not going to go 0-6 against the Braves this year. We're going to go ahead and bring in our best guy. So to be able to force New York to pull in Edwin Diaz says a lot. Hopefully they can continue to make strides in that way. Tomorrow will be the series finale against the Mets. And, of course, it will be Grant Holmes on the mound for the Bravos. And Grant Holmes has been solid pretty much all year. He's been, obviously he's got around a 3.71 ERA. Not indicative of who he is. I think he's a lot better than that ERA. But as much as he's been moved around, I think if he was in the starting role full-time, no question, that's who he is. I think that ERA is below 3. He does have a 4-6 record. I think he very well could get it to 5-6 tomorrow. He'll be going against Griffin Canning. Pretty even matchup. Griffin Canning is 7-3, but he hasn't exactly had his best stuff against the Braves. So I think right now with where we're at, the Braves, in the standings, obviously a loss is never good, but I've said it for the past few days now. The Braves have kind of turned the division on its head a bit because nobody expected them to win 7 out of their last 10, now 6 out of their last 10 after today. But they have been really good, and they very well could, fight their way back in the standings. Currently, they are 10 games back of the division. They're 9 games back of the Mets. So obviously, a win tomorrow would make them 8 games back of the Mets, and then they'll have 3 games against the Phillies. One thing that they have made clear is that this season is not over. A lot of people would like to assume that it is if you're a Mets fan or a Phillies fan, but the Braves have definitely proven in the past few days that it's a long season and you're going to have to beat us down completely to put us down. And the other thing they've done is they've given themselves the ability to, if this does somehow come down to a tiebreaker with the Mets, you have a 5-1 advantage there in and you do win the tiebreaker. So right now the Braves do sit outside of the wild card still. They are 6 games back of the wild card, at least before today, I believe. So I guess they'd be 7 possibly now. But they are still in it, and that was the key in this stretch. I told you a couple of weeks ago that this stretch, starting with the first series with the Mets, into the series with the Marlins, to this series, and ending with the series with Philadelphia, that's the biggest stretch of the year, at least up until this point. But no doubt right now, if they did not do well over the past week or so, the season at that point, you're a seller at that point, right? You're at least selling, trading Marcell Ozuna at the deadline, maybe more. because it's a lost cause. You're going to at least get paid back. Now, you still do have that breathing room and the next month or so to fight and get within a contending spot. Because if the Braves can get to, let's say, 2 or 3 games back the wild card, they're a contender. They're not selling. They're not trading. They're going to be trading for pieces, not trading to get rid of pieces and get a return for the future. They're going to get a return for right now. That's the difference. And I do think that that's going to happen. The Mets obviously have really had a rough go at it. In case you're wondering, yesterday I want to say they'd only won 2 out of their last 10. The Mets, right? Yeah, 2 out of their last 10 they've won. So yesterday it was 1 out of their last 10. So been a rough go for New York. For the Braves, it's been pretty smooth sailing. It's been consistent, and that's a good thing. So all in all, obviously you wish you could have won the day. Hopefully you can win the series tomorrow. The key for the Braves was winning the first 2. We all knew that going in, especially not having Sale. Had you had Sale today, you very well could have won that game, because you're going to tell me Chris Sale would have given up more than 3? I doubt it. So I just think that where we're at right now, it's kind of a stay above water until you do get Sale back, until you do eventually maybe get Ronaldo Lopez back either into the rotation or into the bullpen, likely into the pen. And you'll have to see what you can do at the trade deadline, which, by the way, we're going to talk about the trade deadline pretty much all the way up until the trade deadline, but we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. Some way too early possibilities for the trade deadline. We are going to talk about that tonight. So if you have an idea, I have a computer to my right specifically to look up stats and to read your comments. So make sure to put them in. Remember, guys, like the video. It really does go a long way in helping us broadcast this out to a larger audience. Also, subscribe if you have not already. I know a lot of you guys coming in from the CeeLo stream. Really do appreciate you being here. Appreciate CeeLo putting us out there. I hate that we keep having technical difficulties, but one of these days we're going to figure out technology. We're just 2 boomers trying to figure this stuff out, but we will. So please do subscribe if you have not already. We really would appreciate it. Like the video, hit the bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Before we go to break, I do want to mention some big news in Braves country. Michael Harris, we got an update on him after he, of course, got hit by the pitch yesterday. He is day to day. That is very good news. As much as Harris has struggled this year at the plate, he obviously doesn't need any more setbacks. He'll be able to be back sooner rather than later. That's very good news. We're happy to hear it. I look forward to seeing him back in the Braves lineup. One other piece of news that I thought was interesting, and after this, we are going to go to break. Ronald Acuna Jr. will participate in the 2025 Major League Baseball Home Run Derby. Not his first time, but this time will be in Atlanta. It will be in his home ballpark, and I think everybody would love to see that. And maybe some more Braves, possibly. Some Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, all of those guys would look good in a home run derby at Truist Park, but it will be the former MVP, Ronald Acuna Jr. So very exciting news there. We are going to go to break, but when we return, we're going to talk about a possible outfield addition at the trade deadline. Stay with us. That's next.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everybody. There's been a lot of chatter this year about the possibilities of the Braves maybe adding to the outfield, and that is because obviously Profar with the PED obviously exit for 80 games and that kind of thing. Obviously, the Braves have possibly contemplated adding to the outfield. They've already gotten Alex Verdugo this year. They've made moves for the outfield, but nothing super significant. And there's the possibility that they could. There's one guy that's been brought up a couple times. I'm more than likely going to shoot this one down. In fact, I am. Jarren Duran has been brought up. And the Red Sox already made news. They traded Rafael Devers to the Giants. A lot of controversy there. Not going to get into it. But big-time trade already, and that was in the month of June. So we'll have to see what happens. But they could very well trade some more. If they decide to, they would be deciding to only 2.5 games back of the wild card. And I don't know that they're going to want to lose Jarren Duran, who is a terrific player. He's got a 257 average this season, 5 homers. Obviously, outfielder, left-hander. He's not a free agent until 2029. That's really my main nope, they're not going to do it. As good as he is, if he didn't have team control after this year, I may feel differently. But because he has team control for the next 5 years, I don't think so. As much as I'd like to get somebody like that, I think there's other options that you can pick that pretty much do the same level of damage. And again, terrific player. In 2024, he led the league in doubles and triples. I mean, he's an electric guy. He also led the league in at-bats. He was an all-star, 8th in MVP voting. He is leading everybody in triples again this year. But, I don't know that he's really going to give you something that, is worth what they're going to ask for. I don't know that, there's an equal trade, there for the Braves. It really makes a ton of sense. Where, they're going to ask for, just for example, Bryce Elder, Jared Kelenic, and probably a wealth of prospects that, number one, the Braves probably don't have to give out anyway, and if they did, they don't want to let them go. Primarily pitching. I just don't see that. But, there's a lot there that if they're going to add an outfielder, I think it's going to be a Verdugo-type move. I don't think it's going to be a Profar-type move, if that makes sense. I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal. I think it's going to be a short-term deal because we already know who the outfield is next year, too, right? It's Michael Harris in center, Ronald Acuna in right, Profar in left. That's locked up, and that's where we're going. And I don't think that they're going to want to deviate from that plan. Aside from that, you got to think about this year. If you do make the playoffs, Profar can't play in the playoffs. So that leaves me to believe that if they do make a move for the outfield, which is not unlikely, it's very possible, I think it will be a short-term, 1-year rental. I don't think it will be a long-term, big-time move. That's just my opinion, but I don't think Jarren Duran makes sense for what the Braves have in the future and have set up for the future. I just don't think he fits the bill. And frankly, come the trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of sellers, and I think a lot of corner outfielders will be on the market for shorter terms. And I think that'll be more along the lines of where the Braves go. Now, one other target that I think the Braves will make, not in the outfield. This is purely bullpen. And we'll talk a little bit about starter possibility too. But I got a little bit busy today looking at possibilities, and I got just some ideas for you. I see somebody brought up Class A and obviously Duran, but Class A, he's a free agent in 27, obviously playing on the Guardians. The Guardians, much like the Red Sox, they're not out of it. They're only 1.5 back of the wild card, 9.5 back of their division. So they're not out of it, especially in the wild card. But they could trade, right? In a month from now, they may be 7 games back in the wild card and may deem it, let's get rid of what we got. But Considering he does have team control beyond this year, I'm not sure this would happen. 3.48 ERA this year, 18 saves. He's got a 2.54 FIP, though. I mean, he's better than what he's playing as right now in his ERA anyway. But that's kind of how I feel about Clase. I don't think it'll happen. I'd be very surprised. I brought up a trade yesterday for kind of a 1-2 punch. The Braves need a starter. They need a reliever, at least one reliever, maybe more. But the Andrew Heaney and David Bednar move from Pittsburgh really stands out to me. It does really fix a lot of problems on the Braves right now. It fixes the fact that you are lacking in starters, especially with this Chris Sale question mark. And if you do get Sale back, then that just makes your rotation a little bit stronger on the back end with a guy like Andrew Heaney, who is really solid for the most part. He's akin to a Charlie Morton, which I know there's been speculation about Charlie Morton. We'll get to that in a moment. But be able to trade with the same team and get David Bednar, who's a really solid reliever, could really help the Braves in one trade solidify the pitching staff in a big way. I like that move. I like the idea of that move. I think you'd have to give up quite a bit, but I think that deal can get done with a Jared Kelenic, Bryce Elder level package. And basically everybody benefits. Maybe you throw in a couple of pitching prospects, but I think that deal could get done. The Braves may deem it that they're asking too much, which also wouldn't surprise me because we know what their asking prices have been over the years. David Bednar got looks a few years ago. They weren't going for it. The team control was too enticing, even though they're not going to do anything with him because he is a solid reliever and he is on the Pirates, and that's not going to really make a difference in whether they win or not because the Pirates aren't very good right now. It just is what it is. Same goes for Brian Reynolds. Paul Skeens is another one. So they have some pieces, which makes me believe they don't want to give up anybody that is promising and could be really good in the future. They don't want to give up that opportunity to have them on the roster if they are ever to figure it out, which they could, but they got to get an offense first. Another guy that's gotten a lot of attention over the past couple days, Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. I think Helsley is probably going to be one of the biggest trade conversations. I don't think the Braves will do it because of that reason exactly. I think he'll be too sought after, too expensive, too, high profile, not under the radar enough for Alex Anthopoulos, which we know how Alex Anthopoulos likes to work, and I just don't see it happening that way. Helsley hasn't had the best year. He's got a 3.54 ERA. Obviously, he's playing for the Cardinals. Free agent in 2026, so he's a free agent at the end of the year, which makes him all the more valuable in a trade scenario because you don't have to commit to him long term. He's also not making all that much. He's making $8.2 million, so you'd have to pay somewhere around $4 million for the rental. He's got 15 saves. It could happen, but you're going to have to lose some folks. He's a two-time All-Star as recent as last year. He was 9th in Cy Young Award voting last year. He had 49 saves, led the league. Obviously, his stuff hasn't really changed, to be honest with you. He's still got the same strikeout per nine. He's given up a little bit more homers, given up a little bit more hits, but his stuff is still there. He's still a really solid guy, and it's a small sample size. It's only, really like a third of the year that he's pitched so far. So tough to, you got to assume on the back half, especially if he's pitching with a contender, he's going to be better. I just think that there's going to be a lot of guys going after him, a lot of teams going after Helsley, and I just think that that's a little bit too on the nose for it to be what the Braves do. Anthony Bender is one who I really like. Anthony Bender is a guy who we've talked about. The problem is he is in Miami, and that's kind of been the problem for the past few years because every time the Braves have needed bullpen help, Anthony Bender comes up into the conversation. Number one, great reliever last name, number one. But number two, solid arm. He's a free agent in 2028, which probably means he won't get moved, but it's somebody that we got to talk about. He is still on arbitration. I think he's in year 3 of arbitration, so it is what it is. But the Marlins are out of it. If they can get enough prospects to deem it worthy, then they're going to make this trade. He's only making, just so we're clear, under $2 million, under $1.5 million. He's very affordable, but what you don't pay in cash, you are going to pay in prospects. So Anthony Bender could be really good for the Braves, but I just don't see it happening. This year he's got a 2.48 ERA, 1 save. He hasn't really been used as a closer all that much, but a solid reliever nonetheless. You add that to the Andrew Heaney and David Bednar package, you're looking at something really special if you're able to get all that done, if you're Alex Anthopoulos. At that point, I think you're really turning a corner with your pitching staff. Andrew Chafin has gotten some attention. We're going to look him up too real quick. Andrew Chafin, of course, used to be with the Tigers. That's what my head always goes to. Now he is with the Nationals. He is on the 15-day IL right now. This is a guy that if you need left-handed relief help, which I would say we do, he could help you. I don't know that he's really going to be all that helpful, but he could. He's got a 3.18 ERA this year in 16 games. Nothing all that special. But, it could be just another arm to pull. So here's where things get interesting. Here's where you're going to go, Tyler, are you serious? We have talked extensively over the years about this guy, about possibly bringing this guy to Atlanta again. And I say again, you're going to get excited. Who are we talking about? I'm talking about Michael Soroka. Michael Soroka, obviously, the story writes itself. Michael Soroka was phenomenal as a rookie with the Braves, phenomenal in his second year. Come 2020, he tears his Achilles, goes down, basically never to be seen in a big league Brave uniform again, especially full-time as a starter. Tough story. I mean, just a tough story. This is actually footage from his first appearance after the Achilles. I had a front row seat for it. And I'll just be real with you. This is a guy who's easy to root for with his story and just how it went, because we all had a front row seat to it. It's one of those things where you remember where you were when Soroka went down, and not in a good way. Unfortunate. I still think if the Braves had Michael Soroka that year in the playoffs, they probably would have at least went to a World Series. Because if you remember, at the time, I want to say Bryce Wilson started a game. And had we had Michael Soroka, I would have felt a lot better about it. Michael Soroka has found it just as a reliever. We're going to pull up his stats real quick. I actually just got done looking at him. And this really kind of got on my radar the other day when he struck out 10 Dodgers, which I know it's one appearance, but that just shows you he can still do it. 5.06 ERA. Remember, he's on the Nationals. His FIP is noticeably better, though. His fielding independent percentage, it's noticeably better, 454. That plays a little better. And again, I would say look at his game logs, because game logs do matter, and we're going to go through them a little bit right now. His last 5 games, the win 11-7 at Arizona, he threw 5 1/3. He gave up 4 earned runs, but before that, against Texas, he gave up none in 6. So it's a very hit or miss with Soroka. Remember, he's a guy who obviously, and this is as a starter, this is not as a reliever. So, it's tough. I would use him as a reliever, but he's also been pretty solid as a starter. So I would love to bring him back, but I think you bring him back in a reliever type role. Maybe you expand that. He is a free agent at the end of the year, which is interesting. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Michael Soroka would be a very interesting one. So I say all those to say, what are the most likely scenarios? Here's what I'll say. I think if you were to just want a starter, you'd go for Charlie Morton. You know him. We love him. We know what he does, day in, day out. He's the same guy for the most part. He's been really good in the Braves uniform. Orioles aren't really there right now. Could be a really good chance to reunite. And, you might be sitting there going, no, I don't think so. But to me, if you want somebody who you're going to go get and know what you have and move along, you're going to go with old man Chuck. For a reliever, if you just want a reliever, I'm going Anthony Bender if you can get him. Years of control, Obviously division rival, but we've traded with the Marlins before. It's how we got Duvall in 21. So, I mean, it's possible they're out of it. They don't really view it that way. I mean, obviously we wouldn't be able to get a trade done with the Phillies right now, but the Marlins is a little bit of a different story. Again, we talked about him, 2.48 ERA. He's a free agent in 28. Again, years of control. That really benefits the Braves. And he's a solid young arm. A lot of folks are talking about Sandy in Miami. No one's talking about Bender. It's a good under-the-radar move that if you can get done, really does seal the deal. But the move, to me, that would make Alex Anthopoulos the Alex Anthopoulos of 2021 that would really benefit this team right now is that combo move of Andrew Heaney and David Bednar from the Pirates. I don't think you're going to get Paul Skeens. I'm not that foolish. But if you can get Heaney and Bednar in a trade package, I don't really care what you spend. I mean, I do, but I don't. If you can make that happen, you've impressed me because you'd get David Bednar for all of this year, the rest of this year, and all of next year, and you'd get Heaney for the rest of this year and really shore up your starting rotation going forward. That would fix a lot of problems on this team. From there, you can add Anthony Bender. You can add an outfielder if you see fit. But that trade by itself would be huge, and it would be a little under the radar. A lot of folks are talking about Bednar. Not as many people are talking about Heaney. To get them together, if you've ever seen the combo deals, if you've ever watched American Pickers, you know how they always get a combo deal, and, what's the bundle? They get the bundle like Progressive, right? So if you can do that, you may be able to get the package for a little bit less than what it would cost you otherwise, which I really like. I like that a lot. Obviously, all these guys we mentioned are possible. Andrew Chafin, Michael Soroka, Ryan Helsley. I just think they're a little bit less likely. I think if the Pirates are smart, Haney's gone. If the Pirates are smart, Bednar is either gone this year or next because you're going to need, you're going to want to get something for his services, and he's a free agent at the end of next. Haney's a free agent at the end of this year. The real key, though, is Bednar has a lot more value right now than he will next year. He does, because of that year of control. And let's be real, if the Pirates look themselves in the mirror, they know as well as I do, they're not competing really next year. It's too soon. They'd be smart to trade Bednar. In my book, they'd be smart to trade Bednar this year and get the value you can get the prospects you can get, because you're not going to get it next year. Not as much. Obviously contenders always need solid relievers, but who's to say Bednar is as solid as he is right now next year, especially playing for the Pirates? If it were me and I was Pittsburgh, I would have traded him already and tried to get as much as I could for him. And really, for any team that's not a contender, anybody that's a free agent this year, to me, is gone. That should be the philosophy of every team. You may be sitting there going, well, Tyler, the Braves aren't really a contender right now, and you're not wrong, but they've already said they're not selling. They're going to try to compete. If they do sell, the only guy that I can really look at that's a huge part of this team that would be a loss would be Ozuna. I think he'd be gone. If they decide we're out of it, we're not going to try to go get anybody, we're going to go with what we got. Maybe they try to extend Ozuna, and if he doesn't want to extend, then obviously you move on. But that's kind of my thoughts. We are going to get into the chat. We're going to go to break real quick. And again, thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate that. You didn't have to be, but you are. Remember, Super Chats do get priority. They get you moved to the front of the line. They also really do support the channel. A lot of you guys Super Chatted last night. We appreciate it. Would love it if you guys did again tonight. But if you don't, it's all right. No pressure. When we come back, we're going to read all the comments and tell you what I think. Remember, I just went down a whole list of trade possibilities. Some are good, some are not. I'd like to hear them all. So give me your craziest trade proposals, and I'll give you my thoughts on them.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. Anthony Ruganath, I hope I said that right, said, okay, moving on. Yeah, moving on to Game 4. Hopefully the Braves can win the series tomorrow. A lot of you guys tuning in from CeeLo's show. Really do appreciate it. Dion says, well, this is about what most of us expected. Yeah, I mean, I told you Game 1 that if there's a game we're going to lose, it's going to be Game 3 because you don't have Sale. You're going with a rookie. Not just a rookie, you're going with a guy who's throwing his second big league game. Like, it is what it is. Moving on, as Anthony said. So, again, what most of us expected, but, we'll go on to Game 4. Good for Frank the Tank, if nothing else. Good for Frank the Tank. Jake Hobby says, I like Austin Cox, not just because he has my birthday. Well, he pitched 2 good innings today. I mean, he gave up the 1 run, but all in all, I thought he did all right. And considering where the Braves bullpen has been this year, we'll take it. And he saved the pen in a way. He didn't have to use so many arms. Hello, Newman. I like Fuentes in the future, but bring up Nathan Wiles and send the kid back down. I don't know enough about Nathan to give you an answer on that, but, we'll see. Jake Hobby saw a few closer options. Class A we talked about. Duran from Minnesota and Bautista were talked about last night. Bautista's interesting. The Orioles are obviously flirting with disaster. I don't know that he's going to be traded. We can never really know, but let me look at his baseball reference and maybe I can give you a better understanding. Yeah, I don't think so. He's a free agent in 2028. I don't think they'll get rid of him. It'd have to take a miracle for them to get rid of him because I don't think the Orioles, they're not playing great. This year, no doubt. In fact, they're 34-45. They're last place in the AL East. Not playing great, but they're a good enough team where next year I feel like they could bounce back. And you got to think the front office on that team thinks the same. I don't think he'll move. I'd be very surprised if he moved. Duran from Minnesota. I did not talk about him. Joan Duran. 178 ERA. That's all great and wonderful. But it is a free agency in 2028. I don't know about that. They're in 4th place of the AL Central, 37-42, a few games below 500. Yeah, I don't know about that one either. I feel like those are 2 teams that could be very good next year, and they're going to view it differently. The Pirates, I think they should get rid of Bednar because they're not going to be good next year. That's just kind of how I feel about it. Ron tunes in, says, as much as we have owned the Mets, I can't even be mad about this loss. I know we need wins, but just statistically it's bound to turn. This doesn't mean it's turned, but I can accept this loss. Yeah, I'll put it to you this way. I was not sitting there going, man, what are we doing? It was like, well, okay. Fuentes gave up 6. I mean, all right, we can accept that. That's acceptable. Obviously, you hope they can win tomorrow, especially with Holmes on the mound. You don't want to waste that start. But then, I believe, who do we got started after that? It goes so quickly in my head that I can't keep up sometimes. But with Holmes on the mound, you really need to win that game, especially with another win against the Mets. TBD beyond that, so I don't even know. I got to look and see. Thanks, Probable Pitchers, for nothing. We'll figure that out momentarily. I'm curious to see who'd start that first Phillies game because it wouldn't be Strider, wouldn't be Schwelly. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Jameson Taylor tunes in. Jameson giving an update on his health. Jameson, we're praying for you, buddy, and obviously hope things work out well. We're going to move on from there, though. Jameson, obviously, like I said, we're praying for you and really hope you're doing well. At least you can watch the Braves, hopefully, right? I hope so anyway. Newman says, I'd love to see Soroka in a Braves uniform again. Me too. Let's see. Newman says, Helsley hates the chop. Obviously, we know what he's talking about. I think he'd get over it if he's got a job with us. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily want him just from a trade perspective. I didn't even really think about that. But at the end of the day, it's a business. Somebody wants to know about what I think about Kyle Finnegan. Kyle Finnegan. Well, I got his stats pulled up. 2.93 ERA, 18 saves for the Nationals. He's only signed for this year for $5.38 million. So the Braves would owe about $2.5 million, if that. So he was an All-Star last year. FIP is down from last year. That's good. ERA significantly down from last year. Yeah, he's been good. When's he a free agent? Yeah, I think he's gone. I think he gets moved. If you can combine him with a Soroka trade, even better. But I think the Nationals are probably going to start letting loose of any free agents they got because they are in fourth place, and the only reason they're not in fifth place is because the Marlins exist. So that's just kind of my opinion. Jake Hobby says it sounds like Fuentes is going down. I mean, look, I thought he was going down after the last start, and that's not a knock on him. It was only ever supposed to be a spot start. It's clear to me that the talent is there, but I just don't think he's ready. And that's okay. He had one game in Gwinnett, and before that, he was here in Double-A in Columbus. So, I mean, I had eyes on him. I didn't think he was ready then. I don't think he's ready now. It was a spot start to fill the need, and we've obviously seen what happens when you stretch it beyond that. So I don't think it was a permanent position from the beginning. So, okay, Elder, I should have guessed that. Elder's projected to start the first game against Phillies. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. I should have guessed that. I don't know where my mind was. So Bryce Elder will start game one, then Schwellenbach, and then Strider. So here's the deal. This series against Philadelphia also takes center stage. Philadelphia is the first-place team. You certainly don't want to go 0-3 there. I don't know how I feel about Elder. It kind of depends what Elder we get in game one. Obviously, feel good about Schwelly. Strider, when it comes to Philly, sometimes can be a bit of a head case, and he didn't have his best outing this last time. I would hope that he can turn the gear and be who we know him to be against Philadelphia. That would really be a good sign going into the rest of this year for him. Mass Boost says Baldwin didn't do him any justice tonight. I don't know if that's fair. I mean, it's a rookie catcher, rookie pitcher. They haven't really worked together very much. They haven't worked together at all before tonight. I'm not going to hold that against Baldwin. I don't know that it really would have much mattered because he gave up the 3-run homer in the last appearance. He gave up quite a bit tonight. I don't know that it really, like I said, I just don't know that it would have mattered. I could be wrong. I'm known to be wrong sometimes, but I don't know that it really would have mattered. Guys, we're not going to be on for a ton tonight. It's going to be kind of an early, quick stream, but I did want to get on and talk about this series with the Mets. Obviously, would have loved another sweep, but we'll take 3 out of 4 if we can win tomorrow. We can at least be undefeated in series against the Mets this year. That would be great if we can finish the year with that. But we'll see. Newman says, do you think we will see Richie or Waldrop this year? Those are probably the two guys that are in the organization that are the names that you're going to want to see. Hurston Waldrop, I thought, would get called up before Spencer Schwellenbach. I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong because Schwellenbach has been really good. Hurston, I think, is probably more likely than J.R. Ritchie. J.R. Ritchie just got to Double-A. He's done okay, but he hasn't really, been the guy yet. There's a guy in Double-A that Braun's been pretty good. Lucas Braun's pretty good at Double-A. There's a guy that I really enjoy watching pitching, and that's Ian Mejia. And I swear every stat line's like 8 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, no earned runs. I mean, he's been really good. So Ian Mejia is a guy that I want you to check out. I think, to be honest with you, I thought if anybody from Double-A was going to get called up to Gwinnett, it'd be Mejia. But, there's reasons for it, but he's been really good at Double-A. So check out Ian Mejia's stats when you can. In fact, I'll go on and do it. I don't care. But yeah, he's been really solid pretty much all year long. Been fun to watch here in Columbus. 6'3", 25 years old. God, he's younger than me. 205 pounds, throws right. Let's look at the stats. New Mexico State and Rome, he had a ERA of 4.66. Moved on. In 2023, he had a 4.69 ERA. 2024, he had a 3.80 ERA. In 2025 with the Clingstones, he's got a 2.03 ERA. Been really solid. His strikeouts per nine, 7.4. Strikeout per walk rate is pretty much 3. Really solid stuff. There's 71 innings. He's been really fun to watch. And like I said, let's look at some game logs if we can find them. Yeah, give me game logs for 25. All right. So his most recent, 624. 8 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs. He had a loss the game before that. He did give up 3 and 6. He had a win before that. He pitched 5. Win before that. He pitched 6. He's been really stellar. Just a solid arm, and obviously he's a guy that I've kept an eye on. But it's Lucas Braun. It's him. Blake Burkhalter's at the AA level. J.R. Ritchie, of course, is at AA level. There's a lot of guys. J.R. Ritchie, we interviewed on the channel a few years ago when he first got drafted. It was a Zoom interview that we did in the studio. Good kid. The guy who called his draft pick was Fred McGriff, which was, pretty cool, especially for a Brave. That's pretty darn cool. Beyond that, Owen Murphy. We interviewed Owen Murphy. Cole Phillips, too, that year. He was the draft pick for the Braves. I believe he's now with the Mariners. All good guys. Owen Murphy has had some outings that I've been impressed with, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they grow and progress. Landon Harper's another one that's been really solid. One Ron, how do you feel about Acuna in the Derby? I don't think it will mess with his swing at all, but your thoughts? I don't think it will either. If you remember Acuna back on I guess it was 2019 Derby, he pretty much hit to all fields. He looked like Acuna. He didn't try to pull anything. He may hit a little differently in an attempt to win it, especially in Atlanta. I don't think it'll mess with his swing. I think he'll be fine. You know what? Honestly, in Atlanta, no Brave has ever won the Derby. It'd be great to see a Brave do it in Atlanta, especially Acuna. That'd be terrific. Waldrop apparently has walk issues. Yeah, probably. A lot of guys have walk issues in the minors. That's, a lot of guys have walk issues at the majors. It's you got to work those things out. That's what the minors are for. One Ron, thanks for the super chat, thanking me for my time. I only gave you 47 minutes, Ron. I didn't give you that much time. Well, I appreciate you, Ron. Appreciate it. All the super chats, all the viewership. We're growing. We're trying to grow. We're up to 6,200 subscribers. We'd love you to join the family if you have not already. Obviously, like the stream, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Watch us on TikTok. We're also there. Some of you may be coming from there. That's a new thing we're trying. I said earlier that we're kind of boomers. This whole TikTok thing ain't really for me, but we're testing it out. It'll be fine. Frank the Tank mastered it. Hopefully, I can follow in his footsteps in a different way. But no, we really do appreciate all the support, all the super chats, all the viewership. It goes a long way, helps us grow, and couldn't do it without you guys. So the other person we got to thank before we get out of here, of course, our sponsors, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. They've been terrific sponsors for us over the past few years. Obviously, just really helping the channel and giving us some legitimacy. We're also looking for more corporate sponsors. If you know of a business out there that would be interested in sponsoring a channel like this, we're clean. We don't cuss for the most part, unless I play a Frank the Tank clip. But we're clean. We like to, keep things solid and not do anything too outlandish. But no, we are looking for corporate sponsors, and we'd love to support your business any kind of way we know how. But guys, that's going to wrap up this stream of On Deck. We really do appreciate you tuning in. And of course, we will be here going forward, probably at least once next week. For the rest of this week, I doubt it. Definitely not tomorrow night. I'll be busy. But we will definitely be here next week at least once, prior to my wedding and honeymoon, but we will be here one more time. We'll be gone for a week. I have some stuff scheduled to release that week for you, just so you'll have something to watch. It will not be anything of the moment, but it's good baseball content. There's a lot of good baseball content on there. We dropped a Ricky Henderson short that you ought to go watch. Glenn Hubbard talking about Ricky Henderson. Pretty good short there. Newman, you're going to be our last question. Watch some Appy Ball League this weekend. It's hard to watch during some parts because of the walks. Little League baseball, high school baseball is kind of the same way, especially if it's not good high school baseball. It can be the same way. That's how a lot of the runs get scored, private school baseball. So I know the feeling. But again, everybody, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. We're going to see you next time here at On Deck. And, of course, the Braves, one more game with the Mets. Hopefully they can pull out the series win. Go follow us on TikTok if we can. I may go live remotely there. No promises, but we may do that. So just another place to keep track of everything we're doing here at On Deck is TikTok. So go check that out. We're growing followers every day. We'd love you to be a part of it. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.